there's all these things on Instagram, and Instagram is like challenging because it certainly has its plays, but these young kids where they're just like, everybody wants to bang. Everyone wants to just bang, and everybody wants to like,
Of course, yeah.
hit backside bombs and just do all this stuff, and that's great.
Right.
But like, you have to understand too, like my defense got me at bats.
Today on Show and Go with X, we have Mets outfielder Harrison Bader. He talks about the free agency process he went through this offseason to go to the Mets. He also talks about being brought up in the Cardinals organization and why it was so important to him. And finally, we talk about that defense in center field and what makes him so special playing out there. Show and Go with X starts now. Got Harrison Bader here today. Hey, we don't play around. We get right into it, all right? I need to know free agency. What is it like going through that process, man? Like, because obviously you get to a point in your career where you have an opportunity where teams can take you, right? And maybe you have the pick of the litter, maybe not. But I want to know a little bit about what's that process like going through it this offseason.
Yeah, it's good to be here, bro.
Appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Free agency was a great process because as you know in baseball, you're under team control for a number of years, and it takes a while to kind of get to free agency. I think we've seen that a little change as the game's progressed. Teams are investing in really young talent, and that's awesome, and I get it. But my route was a little bit different. So for my family and I mean, it was a great process. We loved the teams that we were a part of prior to free agency. And I think the biggest thing was just finding that perfect balance between, wanting to be on a winning team, a team that's going to compete, which is most important. And then also just where we're going to feel comfortable. And I got a really fabulous opportunity to remain back in New York and take the train across town to Queens and stay in Flushing with the Mets. And I couldn't be more thrilled for the opportunity. That's kind of what it comes down to. I think, you have, if you do it clean, you have 6 full years to kind of create a reputation for yourself. You have 6 full years to work to a point where you can create opportunities for yourself. And I think getting an opportunity to play for a franchise in New York, getting an opportunity to just continue my baseball career. I'm just extremely grateful. My family and me are extremely grateful, and it was a great process. It really was, and we'll keep seeing how it goes.
I mean, it sounds like gratitude is obviously something that comes to mind, right? You've gone through ups and downs as a player, but going into the off season, is the conversations with your agent like, hey, where are we at on a day-to-day basis? Because when I played, I never got to free agency like you have. So I'm wondering, what are those conversations like with your agent, who's obviously pushing you for these teams and pushing you for specific financial gain as well? But are those on a day-to-day basis? Is it stressful having those conversations? And the same thing with the teams.
Yeah, that's a good question. I want to be super involved with everything in my life, whether it comes to my relationships with my family, whatever I'm involved with regarding companies that I align myself with off the field, whether it comes to, like you just mentioned, free agency, discussions with my agents. I want to have a thumb on everything. But at the same time, I think it's really important to do the work behind the scenes to set yourself up in a position to where you're kind of like passively creating that confidence through everything you're involved with. So as it pertains to my agents, I've switched agencies a number of times because I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes and trying to align myself and my family with the best agents I see fit. So yes, it was stressful to a degree because, I want results, I want answers, but that passive, just like generating confidence, knowing that those guys are doing their job because of the work I've done behind the scenes prior to signing with them.
Yeah.
It really was a great process. Going into it last year was challenging because I didn't have the platform I wanted due to injury. So I always wanted to preserve my upside. And I think as a baseball player going into a full season, there's no better way to preserve your upside by saying, I'm going to give everything I got this year. I'm going to train properly. I'm going to do what I have to do. and I'm going to go out and I'm going to ball for my team, and I'm going to ball for my organization. I'm going to ball for myself and my family, and I'm going to have a great year, and then we're going to see how it shakes out come next offseason. So that was always a plan going into it. And, again, you mentioned gratitude. I think a lot of that is just rooted in the game. Every year there's another guy, another player, another individual that's, that wants to eat the same way you want to eat. And there's no emotion about it. It's just about getting in there, showing up every day, putting the work in. And if you do it with gratitude, knowing that good things will come as a result of the process, you're going to have longevity. And, I've seen at the highest level with some of the dudes I played with, some of the greatest, most humble, most gracious human beings ever. Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, Paul Goldschmidt. I don't want to leave anybody out, but those are the types of dudes I just look at and I think about, and I look at their careers, whether they've ended or still going on. And the consistency with all of them was every day they showed up, they were amazing teammates. They did their work, but there was just this aura of just gratitude and just good or bad, like, we're going to keep going, we're going to figure it out. And I think it's really important because it's a long season. They're long years, and even zooming out even further, it's a long career. So, you got to just have those foundational elements to it all.
I want to touch on some of those influences, some of those guys that you've talked about that you've kind of seen firsthand go about it the right way. But I want to dive into something that you just mentioned about the 2023 season and not being at your full capacity because of injury. How tough was it going through that season or that frustration, knowing that, man, I'm trying to prove myself going into a free agency opportunity?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, having people to lean on who have been through the process before, having dudes in the clubhouse to just talk to, just straight up conversations, whether it's a long flight to another city after a game, having those influences are extremely important. So I definitely lean on my teammates for that. And then once that's done, I mean, you have to let go of it all. You really have to. You know how it goes. The lighter you feel, the more calm you feel, the more confident you feel, everything comes a lot easier. And if you're holding on to X amount of dollars, if I don't do this, then, I mean, it's going to be really hard to be successful. Especially over the course of 162 games.
You mean you can't think about that while hitting a baseball at the same time?
Nah, you can't. You really can't.
No, that's
and I think,
a good point.
it's so like turning that part of my ego off, that was something that it actually came pretty naturally to me. Because you know how it goes. The more you play this game, the more you fail. And, understanding that failure is a part of it and there are going to be tough times are a part of it, like it makes it all okay. So I turned all that off, but, again, I use the word challenging because it wasn't a bad year because I was in a major league uniform the entire year. I got to play in front of my family and friends. We had some great moments. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. We didn't win a World Series, but, focusing on the small things, the positives, it was a great year. It was challenging, though, because it's challenging to be fast and explosive like I know I can be on all sides of the ball.
Which is a huge part of your game.
For sure. When you got some things going on and, this in spring training, and then everything is, cross-sectional. And then before you know it, you're kind of like working uphill as you're also facing a dude on the mound who's super talented. So it was just challenging for those reasons. But again, work ethic, getting with the right people, everything feels great. And I think the biggest thing that got me through it all was, as I was working through it, everybody loves the word grind, As I was grinding through it, I just kept telling myself, I was like, there is going to be a day where I'm going to be 100%. I'm going to be tightened up. Everything's going to be where it needs to be. And when that day comes, I'll be ready. And it might not be today, tomorrow, in a month from now. It might not even be this year. But I know for a fact that day will come. So just calm the mind, lay everything out there, which I know I do. And when that day comes, we'll get it right. So, I think, again, we've seen guys, everybody, that big free agency and you want to hit it perfect. Listen, it is what it is, bro. It is what it is. Dudes have done it later in their careers. Dudes have done it early. It is what it is. Every part of this game is your journey. You have a runway of how you want to go about it. So, the timing of it will be what it is when the training is right, when the mind is right, when the process and focus is where it needs to be, then everything else will take care of itself. So, just continuing to work through that. really was, is the name of the game and has been the name of the game for the past year for me.
That perspective is interesting because you said it comes naturally, and I would assume or bet that for most guys it doesn't come that naturally. So I'm interested to know, because I even know for myself as a player, there's obviously times you put pressure on yourself, but there's certain things that you can't control. You talked about injuries and off-season situations, but what allowed that to come naturally, that perspective? Because a lot of guys I feel like don't have that same perspective, especially at your age. Maybe somebody that's 35, 36, but at your age, 30, that's not that perspective.
No doubt. Well, first and foremost, it's the way I was raised by my parents. My parents always taught me just to create perspective, and through that perspective, you can kind of hone in what you're trying to accomplish. Also being from New York City, that helped me a lot. I went to a school where like athletics was not really the thing. But what I noticed about, the school I attended for my entire life, was that everybody was really, really good at something. Mainly in the classroom, but there was just always just this flow and just this energy around all of the students there. And even once you stepped on campus, that like people were like, they were like gunning for it, at a young age, and they were going and, I'm going to be something, I'm going to do something, I'm going to make a name for it's like, and for them, it wasn't necessarily athletics, but that energy, even the synergy between teachers and students, I mean, it was just like this means something. So I think settling into that, getting my schoolwork done, but knowing that my thing was outside the classroom. Yeah. My thing was on the field. And, just growing up in New York, like I was extremely humbled by the cultures I was exposed to. So all the good baseball in New York City is, from my experience, is Spanish.
Right, yeah.
So it's all Dominican and Puerto Ricans. Yeah. So being exposed to that culture when I was very young, and playing 100+ games over the summer since I was 14 years old, on backfields, on fields that had terrible infields. Yeah. The batter's box, because everybody was a righty, nobody was a lefty. So the batter's box had like big like scoops in. So you got to learn how to use your, it's like, and before you're 6 inches lower than the mound. It's just like,
you got to figure it out.
Yeah, we got to figure it out. But, taking all that, bottling it up, and then pouring it onto the field, and then, winning. Yeah. That's what it was. We would play 3-4 games a day because all those tournaments are, money grabs, no disrespect.
Right, yeah.
So they're just overstacking games, and games are going later. So we got to find a way. So now we're like cooking chicken and rice and beans out of like, trunks of cars, and we're all piling into church vans and traveling for hours to play. Yeah. But that's what it's about. Right. And that was just like a really humbling experience because my coach, he never took, he didn't take anything from anybody, regardless of height, weight, color, race, didn't matter. If you knew how to play, if you did it right, you act like a pro and you were a good teammate, you played. And being in that, that atmosphere at a young age, like the only thing that mattered was the work in the game and taking care of the ball. So, when you're plunged into situations like that, you got to curb your ego very quickly. And my teammates would let everybody know if you were being, if you were stepping out of line. Yeah. So I think, when you kind of bottle all that up and you kind of just let it out into, University of Florida and then pro ball, I think you have like a good, well-rounded, just like work ethic and drive and passion to take care of the baseball and put forth the best product I'm capable of day in and day out. And that's always been, my focus throughout my entire career.
Yeah, that's an amazing thought process itself, just because that's going to allow you to go through ups and downs and still stay pretty even keel as far as your mental focus.
For sure.
And you mentioned Florida. I thought it was interesting because obviously you signed this offseason to the Mets, and Pete Alonso, you guys played together at Florida. Tell me a little bit about why the Mets, because obviously there is some uncertainty there as far as new front office, new manager. Why the Mets? And then also, how cool is it to have the opportunity to play with Pete Alonso now?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's an incredible opportunity to be back with Pete. again, I've said this before, having familiarity with a free agent sign in a clubhouse you're going to, I think is huge.
Yeah.
And, I was always under the impression, because whatever happened after this, like the decision to stay with the Mets, I was always like, Pete's going to be a Met. Pete's going to stay a Met. Whatever happens after this year is fine. That's his career. I get it. But, this year's going to be Met. So
At least for this year, you guys will both be Mets.
Exactly. And I'm just going to, for every game that we're together, I'm just going to soak it up. I'm going to continue to learn from him. I'm going to lean on him. And we're going to play like we did in college, which was we just played and just kicked the crap out of everybody.
Yeah.
And that was always the mentality, regardless of the result. So being back with him is awesome. He was a very big part of why I wanted to stay in New York.
Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. Because, listen, teams have dudes. You know what I mean? Like you go to certain places to just like to latch onto that energy and to like create that like synergy so you hit the ground running. And then before you know it, it's off. Opening day is here, and it's like we're comfortable. So that was really important to me. But also just a dude that like is just super consistent, super like even keeled, level-headed about his work, simple, and like that's always what I've like felt comfortable with in clubhouses, because that is what will last over the course of a season. You know what I mean? Like everybody can hit when you get hot. You know what I mean? Everybody can hit when everything's good and your eggs come out perfectly in the morning and life is great. But it's like, it's those days where it's not like that, where we can still be successful, we can still find a way to work, and just having those little voices that I know Pete will supply for me while I'm going through it, while we're going through it.
Right.
That's awesome. You know what I mean? And I've also noticed too that like one player, one coach in a clubhouse can really propel a player's season in the right direction. I know that because through experience, I've had that every single step of the way.
Wow.
And it's been tremendously helpful to me. It's what I want to be for my teammates if I ever get the opportunity. And it's just really important just to have that comfortability, because especially in New York, once you step out there, it's like, it's no joke.
Right.
And I know a lot of people can talk to that. So yeah, it's really exciting for me.
Yeah, it's a different market too. Like you mentioned, it's going to be different than most places you go to, just because of the animal it is, because of the media, because of how big everything is there on baseball. So I think you're going to thrive in that. We've seen you do it before, so I'm excited for that. I want to touch on kind of the Cardinal aspect of things, because obviously that was a big part of who you were coming up as a player, how you've matured as a player. We've seen you play awesome in that Cardinal uniform before going over to the Yankees and then the Reds. But I want to ask you, what was it like coming up in that Cardinal system and being around some of those influences that you mentioned? Guys like Adam Wainwright, guys like Yadier Molina, and anybody else, Matt Carpenter, those guys that you found that were like, okay, I can lean on these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every time I see anything related to the Cardinals, every time I ever see like a powder blue or a red and it's associated with a card, I automatically have a smile and like a warm feeling about it, because I loved so much about my upbringing in St. Louis. I love so much about everything behind the scenes in the minor leagues on my way up. All those years spent in St. Louis on that field, I could not have more love for that city, could not have more love for what me and my teammates accomplished in the uniform. We didn't bring home a world championship, but we did win a lot. We did make it to playoffs a lot. We did make it relatively far a lot. I won my first Gold Glove in that uniform. I made friends for life. I made teammates for life. I learned things that I will hold on to well beyond that game because of that uniform. And that city, those people, my teammates, those coaches, everybody involved, I loved so much about it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things where it's like when you're in it, you're like, these are the days where like when this is gone, because everything comes to an end, especially in baseball, with how quickly we have this like bubble, it's working, it's not, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, which is fine. That's just the beast. But it taught me so much, because again, when it came down to it, Yadi, who's grabbed me here a couple times because I needed it, talked to me under. Wayno talking to me like we've been teammates for 15 years. Seeing Yadi move behind the plate, seeing guys win Silver Sluggers, win MVPs, win Gold Gloves. I mean, like, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. So just having those influences are just like man, it was incredible. It really was. And, the style of play with the Cardinals was like, the best way I could put it is like taking care of the baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So like
the little things.
Yeah, like the baseball is like an egg.
Yeah.
And like, yes, like an egg breaks if you hit it or throw it, yes. But the point is like, you take care of the baseball on defense by hitting a cutoff man, by not giving up like backside runners. You take care of the baseball by like making the routine plays. You take care of the baseball by like, just all the little things by taking care of the baseball. And then when you're hitting, you take care of the baseball by doing your job. If you have a man on second, you got a tough guy on the mound, you got to get him over. If you have a man on third with less than 2 outs, you got to hit a fly ball. Like, these are the ways how you take care of the baseball, and they were just so like pounded into you as a young player coming up, because when you got to the major leagues, under the managers that we had, that was the expectation. And that was the standard by which the Cardinals had won baseball games for years.
Right.
And everybody talks about the Cardinal Way. Every good player that can understand what the game is about and what's required of you in the present moment has the Cardinal Way in them.
Right.
He might not call it that, but that's what it is. Yeah. It's not being selfish to be like, oh, that man's on second, I'm going to hit a double and like back him up and I'm here for the glory. That's not what it's about. Right. You know what I mean? Like, the way is about like turning yourself over for the team and finding a way to win in that present moment. So the Cardinal Way is sprinkled throughout all of baseball, and every player that embodies it. And just having that at a very young age, like dudes like Willie McGee would come down when I was in AA, and like Willie's my favorite player ever, favorite person ever. But he'd come down, he'd be like, "Damn, Bades, you a cold dude. Stick with it." Yeah. Just having like him do that, meeting Lou Brock.
You do a good Willie. You do a good Willie.
You know Willie. And then Lou Brock looking at me and smiling, and he's like, "Man, you got wheels." Yeah. And I'm like, "Lou, you got wheels." Like, what are you talking about? Meeting like Rick Shandy. I mean, so many guys.
Yeah.
Bob Gibson. The Cardinals did such a good job, and rest in peace to honestly, so many of those guys, which is crazy. But the Cardinals did such a good job of having those guys come back, and it's really, really important that players see that, because it's so like, we talk about all the time that like this current generation has to make the right decisions through our PA for the upcoming generation. And the same way with players, like these dudes were dudes at one point. Yeah, they might be a little slow right now, but these guys did exactly what we did. So to see them come back to talk about the game, and knowing that they're, regardless of the game, even there might be 40 years in between us, the game is still the same with how you go about winning it. Yeah. So I love that aspect of what the Cardinals did. I know they still do it because I always see photos on Instagram of guys like, oh my, and it's real.
But I think that's too kind of what the difference is with some of these organizations, is because you were brought up in a way the same way as me. I came up in the Cardinals organization, and there was almost an expectation from as soon as you step foot into the organization. And I think seeing those guys that you're talking about, some of them Hall of Famers, Ozzie Smith too was in that same boat, come down and still be excited about being Cardinals and still talking to younger players about the Cardinal Way and the little details of things. I think that's what makes the organization great, is because there's an expectation from an older generation all the way to a younger generation that's just getting in. And when you spoke about like the managers expecting you to do a certain thing, I think that's one thing you don't see a lot of times in other organizations is, okay, how this was taught in short season is the same exact way it's going to be taught at the big league level. So I think you speaking to that is valuable for people to hear, especially younger athletes.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. There's we mentioned like some managers, we talked about this, but like Shildt, for example, right?
Mike Shildt,
one of his first things, and I had Shildt my first full pro season coming out of college in 2016 in AAA.
Wow.
So I was exposed to Shilt's managing style and his just like ferocity for like the game. You know what I'm saying? And ferocity for like winning, and just like everything is like me versus you, us versus you guys, and just diving into that competition. So I was exposed to Shildt from a young age, and he said it best, like one of his first meetings when he was like named the manager after Matheny. I remember Shildt would always be like, like rules, rules. What are, there are standards. You know, like there are standards here.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what I gotta like. You guys are grown men. I need to tell you like rules. Like there's no rules.
Right.
But there's a standard by which you go about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like a very subtle difference between a rule and like a standard, right?
Yeah.
Like the standard is when you get to this level, whether you came from AA or AAA or if you came from another team, like the standard here is like you got to do your job to help us win. And that looks different as different scenarios play out throughout a 9 inning game, but you know, like living by the notion that like, all right, like there are standards by which I have to operate here.
Right.
Like that just like, if you can understand that puts you in a place where you're like you're moving differently and you're thinking differently and you're making decisions differently.
And it makes you better.
It makes you better. It makes your decision making, you know, before the game, how to get ready better. Decision making after the game, you know, better. You sleep better, you wake up better, you eat your breakfast better, knowing that like once I step in there, like there's a standard by which I need to operate. And it does change the way you view and approach things, even when the way you walk in and how you dress. Just little things like that, just fully diving into like these small things that can really like create edge to your game.
Yeah. And I think like obviously we're speaking to a broad audience that may not even just love baseball, but in business and any other walk of life, there's a certain way that you can go about it and have a certain expectation and standard. So I think that you speak that's perfect the way you talk about that, because a lot of people can relate to that. And if they can't, there might be a different way they should try to move. I want to talk a little bit about you mentioned something that I thought was pretty cool, the Gold Glove. You know, your defense is amazing. I want to ask you a little bit about, obviously you want to be a great overall player, but the defense is one thing that stands out. What has allowed you to kind of have that separation from other players with your defense, right? What is the mindset that comes behind playing defense at such a high level?
Yeah, no doubt.
And a tough position in center field.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you know, first and foremost is preparation. Just getting your body ready.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be light. You got to go center field, you're going any direction at the drop of a dime. So just getting into your groove, like as that ball is crossing the plate, like how your body's moving, and if you're landing too much over here, like just keep it super simple. You know, I've always treated it like if I was like playing football, like as a safety. And I'm kind of reading, you know, I never played I never played like organized football, but I played recreational football.
Right.
And I would always gravitate towards like, nah, like I don't want to be a wide receiver. I'm gonna play safety. Cause like I'm gonna read where I'm going and I'm gonna cut the route down. And it's the same way with baseball. You know, all you're doing is just you're trying to get to a spot as quickly as possible to get around it, to then shift your momentum to get the ball back in as quickly as possible. So like treating it that way was always something I would work on and you know, before the game. And then in game, and like you got to want the ball every pitch. You know, I've always said this. I trust. You know, in 2021, we set the MLB record for most Gold Gloves won in a single season.
Yeah.
In the entire modern baseball. And I trust Nolan with everything. I trust, you know, Tommy Edman with everything. I trust Yadier. I trust all the guys.
Yeah, it's not often you have that many. It's great defenders,
no doubt,
in general, playing together.
100%. I trust Goldie, all these guys. I trust all you guys, but I trust myself the most. I want the ball every time. I want to make every single out because I trust my glove. I trust my route. I trust my approach to wanting this ball more than all you guys right now. I trust me the most, and that has to be the mindset.
Yeah,
it's like you know, before there were NL DHs. You know, we'd have double switches. And the classic thing is like the ball will find you, right? So you better be ready with your legs, and you better be loose because like the second you get tossed in there, like the ball will find you. It's coming. So it's like it's the same exact thing. It's like, damn, like I'm a little shaky on this field. Like this is like the grass is a little whatever. It's like the ball's gonna find you, so you might as well just punt that. And you know, staying on the aggressive, man. Like on defense, defense is defense only because. Like we're done hitting, but defense is offensive.
Right.
You know what I mean? Defense is like an aggressive, like, yeah, we're standing out here, but I'm going in this direction. I'm not like on my heels, like, oh, defense. Like, I'm going to let you guys, you know, score on me. You know what I mean? I'm going to let you guys like walk all over me. It's like, no. Like, I'm on offense playing defense.
I'm trying to take stuff away.
I'm trying to take away. Yeah. I'm trying to take outs away. You know, I just hit a a hard ground ball, one hopper, someone made a diving catch, turn, like that's fine. You took one away from me, I'm gonna take one away from you.
The same, yes.
So it's like,
I love that.
That has to be the mentality. And I think if you pair that mentality with repetition behind the scenes, like nothing crazy, but get out there, get your routes. I do this drill where I learned this in college. Ball goes up, and then you run to the spot, and you hold your glove like this because you want to get hit in the head, and you see how close you can get it to where that ball actually lands on you.
Huh.
And that's the point, because it's like you want to get to a point where, like, as soon as you see that ball go up, Willie would always say it. As soon as that ball goes up, you run to a spot and then turn, and you should be able to catch it like that. So I want to get so good that I don't even have to watch where the ball is.
See where it's going, where it is, yeah.
And
you're talking about Willie McGee.
Yeah, Willie McGee. Yeah. That's my guy.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point. So like, it's not about, it's hot, it's the middle of summer, I gotta go take my fly ball. It's not what it is. It's like, let's go 10 minutes, let's get 15 minutes, hard reps. Maybe I only want to work on the ground today.
Right.
But like, just sharpening it, everything.
Something specific.
Yeah, because you just never know when that one opportunity in the game is gonna come where it's like, if I had one more step, or if I was a little cleaner, it's like, you just never want to be in a position where you lose a game for your team because you didn't prepare properly, especially on defense, because it's such a controllable thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's so easy to control those factors. Well,
we had just had Denard Span on not too long ago. He was one of the last episodes released, and he talked about, I can't get a hit every day, but what I can go out there and do is play defense and give everything I can to my defensive side and be focused mentally, physically, and be prepared. That's something I can bring to the field every 100%. Single day.
100%. I've always said, in a game where there are so many uncontrollable factors, we could list them off, things you can't control in baseball. I could tell you right now, we could also list countless things you can control, especially on defense, that, like, if you control those every day, you're going to be a great defender. And people understand too, like, there's all these things on Instagram, and Instagram is like challenging because it certainly has its plays, but these young kids where they're just like, everybody wants to bang, everyone wants to just bang, and everybody wants to, like,
of course,
hit backside bombs and just do all this stuff, and that's great.
Right.
But like, you have to understand too, like, my defense got me at bats, especially when I was young.
Yeah.
So when I was I debuted in 2017, the way I went about my defense got me more at bats for that year.
Right.
Full rookie the next year.
Because we need Bader out there playing D.
Exactly. And then I would get one at bat. I'd have a good at bat, and then maybe, I got to start tomorrow, or like maybe I get in a little earlier, and then before you know it, you play 3 in a row. That was when I was like super young. 2018 full season, we had 3 established outfielders, hands down. But my defense, especially, started late in the game. I'd come in, make a good play or make a good throw, and then I'd get one at bat, and I'd be like, okay, and then you start building that. Like, before you know it, I got 470 at bats that year, and it's like, my defense got me those at bats,
those opportunities.
So my defense for me is my gift in this game, in life, in sports. You never want to betray the gifts you have.
Yeah.
So that's like my baby. That's like what I always want to be good and known for, because that's going to create opportunity for me to get rolling. And then when I get rolling, I could hit.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, players too, like, don't be one dimensional.
Right.
Not everybody's gonna hit bombs backside.
Right. And you're always learning about yourself too, whether it be offensively, defensively. You're trying to figure out ways to get better. That was one thing that when I playing with Yadi, coming up and playing with Yadi, same thing with Wayno, Matt Holliday, like, they were always trying to figure out ways to still get better, even at their age and even at their pedigree. And those are things that we talked about, is like, find that little thing to get better today. If you say you're slumping offensively, defense is something that you can't have slumping. Same thing with the speed. And I know that's a huge part of your game as well. Like, if you have an opportunity to take advantage with a different tool that isn't slumping, that use that. Yeah. And I think that is a mindset for sure, because you can always, with this game of baseball, you mentioned the failure, you can always almost take a step back because you've been failing and woe is me, and let that take part in another part of your game. But having the mentality of staying offensive in everything that you do is different. And I think that's something that a lot of young players are still trying to figure out too, and that's a part of learning the process and learning yourself.
No doubt. When you step in that cage, that's where you figure stuff out about yourself. It could be small things. It could be the way you put your foot in, it could be out, who knows? that cage, that box, that's where you figure yourself out.
Yeah.
You go out to center field, you look down at that grass, you feel that grass, you see all that like that space, like that's where you figure out who you are. It could be something as simple as if you're gonna attack the ball like that versus like that.
Yeah.
And it takes a step away, transfers, who knows? But unless you put the work in physically there and you're like cerebral about it to a point that's beneficial for you, not so far in your head.
You're right.
But like, those are spaces where like, ooh, this feels good. I'm gonna just run with that.
Yeah.
I'm kissing on it. That's enough for me because I have good muscle memory. And like, I'm gonna take this into the game and I'm gonna gun somebody down. Right. Or I'm gonna like get to a spot, or like I'm gonna turn my foot in a little bit or out, and that's gonna help me clear. But who knows? But like, you have to be willing to put that. You have to be willing to put that work in, set aside pride,
Yeah.
and say, I'm gonna just work my way to be above my competition. And that's what it takes. And you mentioned Waino. I mean, I've seen Waino, ebb and flow and just still put innings up, still get outs, still get wins.
Yeah.
He got his 200th win, could not be happier for him.
Right.
But like that, he wasn't the same dude, his first win that he was 200 wins later.
Right.
And he would be the first to tell you that. He would probably tell you, like, you have no idea how much I changed. But, to quote my favorite coach ever, his name is Brad Weitzel from University of Florida, he would say, you can't be a dinosaur in this game. Because if you're unwilling to change, you're going to become extinct. And I want to play for as long as my talent will allow me.
Right.
And that's going to take change.
Yeah.
And change for the better. So it's good, man.
I want to touch on that. That's amazing. Who was it that said that again?
Brad Weitzel. Pete knows him.
Shout out to Brad Weitzel, man.
Yes.
I
mean, we have
awesome.
we have a book on that, man. He's the greatest coach, with the exception of my father, of course. That's the best coach I've ever had.
That's awesome.
He's amazing.
I want to touch on someone that had a lot of influence on my career, Mike Shildt, who my AA, AAA manager. You're coming up, you're learning how to be a man, in the minor leagues and getting opportunity in the big leagues. You talked about kind of his tenacity. I think it's pretty cool him getting another opportunity with the Padres. How was your time with Shildt in general? Like, how was it kind of being with him with the Cardinals? What did you learn from him? What's something that you see him taking to this Padres opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. That's like when I think of like the Cardinals, I think of like a through and through, like, there's a Cardinals cat. You know what I mean? Shilty's with the Cardinals for a long time.
Yeah.
So, now that he's a manager again, having another opportunity, I would expect nothing less of him because he has a tremendous work ethic. You mentioned it, I mentioned it, that tenacity for the game. Listen, the man, he loves the game. So, as a player, knowing that that's what you have in your manager, that's a win right there. That's awesome. What I learned from Shildt is that there are parts of who I am on the field that I need to be better at. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
I think that he understands perfection is not attainable.
Yeah.
But like getting as close to it through your process, through your focus, through your engagement with the present moment is what we're kind of striving for. And learning that from him, I have tremendous respect for how he expects the team and its individual players to go about their work.
Yeah.
And again, I was exposed to that at a young age in 2016 when I feel like that's when AAA started to like kind of turn towards now it's like a prospect league. But when I was there in 2016, I mean, we had like 35-year-old dudes.
Yeah.
So like he was managing like grown men that are like working through things, and I was like young, and I was like, okay, like, all right, but like the message is like, if you want to be in the big leagues, like you got to get out of here, and the way you do it is by cleaning things up about your game. So yeah, I mean, again, shout out to Shildt for getting an opportunity in San Diego.
Yeah.
Tremendous talent over there. I'm excited for him. His amazing wife too. So it's just awesome. It's just a dude that belongs in the game.
Yeah.
I know, and I've come across so many coaches, managers that just belong in the game. And so to see dudes like that.
Until they bleed baseball.
Yeah. To see dudes like that are still a part of the game, and that's awesome. So I'm excited for him, and my time with him was awesome because I learned a lot about myself. And I think that, having things that you can apply to where you're going.
Yeah.
As a result of relationships you've had in the past, I think are really, really important.
Well, I want to get into something about you that I think is special that you don't see from a lot of players. And it's almost like kind of putting yourself out there a little bit and doing podcasts, being cordial with the media, being not afraid to give the right answers or just honest answers. I think that's pretty cool about you. I think there's a kind of almost a unconscious brand that you're kind of putting out there. Maybe it is conscious, but I think that there's an awesome way that you go about doing those things. And I want to take you to the board actually, because I want to show you some visual stuff in which I think is pretty cool, because as a player, I was always trying to learn more about other players, but even as a young player, I'm trying to learn more about them too and kind of their process. So one thing I love is the Players Tribune. They do a great job of allowing players to have their own voice, right? Few articles that you've written for them, also giving them behind the scenes with video into what you do in the off season and during the season. But why put yourself out there? Why is it important for people to know about Harrison Bader?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I see like we got 4 different looks here. We got like this. We got the man bun.
I love it.
Got the flow with the clean shave. Now we got a beard. I mean, this is great. All right. So to answer your first question, why is it important for people to know Harrison Bader?
Yeah.
So,
is it important? I feel like it is.
I think it is important. I think it is important because there are young baseball players and young kids that look up to Major League Baseball players, whether we like it or not. They're young kids involved, and are exposed to everything we do, whether it's a home run and a great moment or a not so good moment if something, whatever happens, like with the media or you curse, whatever, who knows?
How you react or whatnot.
Who knows?
Right.
But, whenever there are like young kids that their minds and their love for the game, they're like sponges. It's really important you put out, to the best of your ability, the right message for the kids. So I think it's really important that I use the Players Tribune as a platform because I can control what gets put out there. That's the point of the Players Tribune, as Jeter, and all the people behind the scenes who they're amazing people that I've worked with over the years.
Shout out to the Players Tribune.
Yeah, and that was the whole point of it, the player's voice, right? So like, we can do a podcast. I can, if a media member wants to, interview me, okay, there's value in that for sure. But she's controlling the narrative.
The platform, right? Yeah.
And the Players Tribune is allowing the player to control the narrative, which I think is extremely important for the player. So that's why I love the Players Tribune. I've done so much work with them. My goodbye to St. Louis was with them. There's stuff I did in the offseason that pertained to New York and everything that will come out. But I love that because the collaboration for the player and the people behind the scenes there, they allow the message from our perspective to come out as we perceive it and want it to. So, as you look at these, I mean, I remember this one like it was yesterday. This was like total behind the scenes of like whether it came down to like even where I ate for lunch, like in the South Bronx, my cage in the South Bronx. Everything was just like, this is where we work. Like, welcome to my world. This was, this is my goodbye to St. Louis. This was when we were in the playoffs in 2021. And we had, 17 games in a row. I think we tied the franchise record or maybe we beat it, but 17 games in a row we won. And it was just a really good opportunity to just hone all that positive energy in and then channel it into the playoffs. And, it didn't shake out that way, but I really, really did all of these for the city of St. Louis, for the people in St. Louis, for the kids in St. Louis that show up on a Tuesday, 42,000 deep, ready to cheer us on. And I think it's important too to realize that like I wanted to be a Cardinal forever. When I was younger, I wanted to be a Cardinal forever because I looked up to Yadier, Wainwright, those dudes.
Right.
But there was also that side of me that was very practical. That was like, if I'm not, I still want to leave behind a trail of like really good work and just remind everybody in St. Louis how much I love them. Yeah. So that's what this is about.
Yeah, you can tell you're passionate about that, obviously the Cardinals, but also about kind of putting those words out there, putting that behind the scenes out there, is it something that you love to write? Is that part of it too? Like liking to write? Because even reading and people, if you get a chance, go read some of these articles, but like, it seems like there's a natural flow that comes from your voice and writing too.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, I love to write. I love to paint. I think a lot of the way I approach even baseball is like from an artistic standpoint.
Creativity, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think those, when you kind of tap into those, you can kind of flow better. You know, you're in that flow state. Colors are more vibrant, sounds, everything is just, you know, brighter if you tap into that creativity. But I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to do good work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm in St. Louis, if I'm in, you know, New York, if I'm in Cincinnati, I just want to do good work. I just want to do good work. I want to win. I want to do good work. I want to leave a positive impact on people, on the field, off the field. I just want to do good work.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
That's what it comes down to, man. That's where the passion flows out.
It's like every aspect, and I love that, and I appreciate that about you. Speaking of that goodbye, right? You were able to come back to St. Louis, and you get the standing ovation. What was that feeling like? Because and the reason why, let me stop it real quick. The reason why I bring it up, because I know it's in the past, but at the same time, everything seemed to happen so quick. Once you got traded to New York, obviously New York's a huge market. Things blow up there. You get to the postseason, all that stuff. It's almost like you didn't get a real break and a real goodbye in a sense. So I love this aspect of you getting the standing ovation. What does that feel like to come back to Cardinals Nation and receive that?
Nah, it was amazing. I mean, I countless. It's crazy.
That's dope. Short hair, no facial. No
I tried to keep like a cool face, but inside, I mean, I was freaking out.
I mean, it's tough.
It's
And
hard,
not to mention, you got
Liberatore's got a banger.
Bases loaded.
And Liberatore's got a banger. He's probably gonna throw me 0-0. So, but no, I mean, my like how it looked on the inside, I was like a little kid smiling. Couldn't have been smiling more. But
yeah,
I mean, countless times I was in center field. Where like we did that for dudes,
right?
You know, for Pools when he came back with Angels.
Yeah.
Cole Wong came back with the Brewers. We did it for Luke Voigt. We did it for a lot of dudes.
Yeah.
And that's the culture in that city. So to kind of be in that position was weirdly bittersweet because like it was amazing that it was happening, and I get a standing ovation like in the city that I loved, in the city that I did a lot of good work in.
Right.
But I'm on like the other side of it.
Yeah.
So it was weird, you know? Not to mention, like you said, we got bases juice with a dude that has a banger, and I remember it's tough to see at that time. So, you know,
there's a lot going
trying
on.
to lock in. But no, I mean, it really was special, and I was extremely, you know, I was just so gracious for look at these people. Like, I don't deserve it. You know, you have people sending up in Cardinals uniforms, you have people sending up in Yankees uniforms. Yep. You know, I don't deserve it, but they did it for me, and it was a really special moment for me and my family.
I'd argue that you do deserve it because there's a certain passion that you play with. And I think that's what I'm excited to see with the Mets too, is the passion that you bring to that team.
Can't wait.
And I think that's something that a lot of teams may be missing nowadays, you know, playing kind of with that hair on fire, with the smile on your face, you know, going hard, head first slide, like that type of energy is needed wherever you go, right? This is something I bring up because this is a little bit of comparison. I like doing this with players because you talked about time in Florida, at University of Florida. I'm wondering what the difference is between at the University of Florida and then not even the swing, but just more so mentally what the difference was at that age, and then maybe physically as well, coming into where you are now.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird watching those both
like
at the same time.
That was like my freshman year, man.
Yeah, well, we got to take it back.
Yeah, no, we got to take it back.
Man, you look small too.
I know, right? That swing is tight. I think the biggest thing is like, you know, in this game, you understand, bro, like you have to like ebb and flow. And it's not even like year to year. Like, we got a toe tap here. It's just like pitch to pitch, you got to ebb and flow.
Right.
And you got to find like what makes you you.
Yeah.
I think I hit a bomb here actually.
Yeah, one of these you definitely hit a bomb.
Oops. That was a hanging slider. I remember that actually. But no, I mean, like, you know, the way you figure out like, all right, this doesn't work. The way you fail, the way you succeed, like you got to get on that field, you got to strip everything down.
Yeah.
Throw your ego out, and there's, I think Pete's somewhere over there.
Pete's in there somewhere. Huh?
You know, like strip it all down, play as if you're not even wearing a uniform per se, and like all the embarrassment, the fear, like throw it all out the window because you have one objective, which is to put this barrel on the ball as clean as possible and be successful. And as long as that's always the focus, you know, your pride, wanting to succeed so badly, all these things can,
the external factors.
Yeah, they'll hold you back from like the task at hand, which is like, bro, dig in.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been guilty of it, but dig in and put this barrel on the ball and go get some.
Right.
And I think, like, you know, when I look at different swing changes, little things I've done, it's all always been because I want to be better. You know, I don't want to be someone I'm not. I want to be a better version of me. So I want to be cleaner in my path. I want to be faster on, you know, whatever it is.
Right.
But when we ebb and flow through it, it's all because, you know, I don't care how badly I look 20 times, but if that's going to get me to where I need to be, because when I get it, you know, like it's on, and I'm going to hold on to it as long as possible. So
I like that too, because there's almost a simplification in it. You're simplifying it to one thing, right? If you're hitting its barrel to the ball, whatever it is, trying to block out external factors, but also you speak of a competitiveness. And I think that that's something that I really relate with playing was, if I can get to the point to where it's mano y mano, right? To where I'm almost forgot about the score, who's on base, what the count is. If I can go and have fun in this battle between me and the pitcher and just kind of think along what he's thinking along, how's he trying to attack me, and to where I'm so locked into that competition of it to where everything else is lost, I think that's where every player is trying to get to.
for sure.
To where it's like enjoyable in the moment. Because we're always trying to get better. We're always trying to like put up these numbers. We're always trying to like get to the next level, whatever it may be. But the one thing you do looking back is like, okay, did I enjoy it in that moment? Because that was the battle.
No doubt.
And I think you speak of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you said it best right there. At the end of the day, regardless of mechanics or what you're trying to do at the plate, you have to remember to sharpen your competitive like approach. You have to sharpen like your competitive like attack mode. You know what I mean? Because like you might step in that box and what if for whatever reason you forget what you worked on?
Right.
Like, what do you have left?
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's really important.
And how many times does that happen? It happens a
all the
lot.
time. You dig in, there's 40,000 people, you go, well, there goes all that work.
Right.
And you're like, well, what do I have now then?
Yeah.
Well, what I have is
Scouting report out the window.
Exactly. What I have is my hand-eye coordination. I have my confidence, you know, and that's always being sharpened, because as much as you might want to work on things like taking rounds in BP, like making up counts in your head or situations in your head, or being like, you know, I'm only because this dude on the mound's got really good four seam. He probably throws at the top of the zone, and he throws a curveball underneath that. You know what? I'm gonna eliminate anything down. I'm gonna swing everything at my belly button. I'm hunting that. So like a lot of times, if we just focus on those things, like you mentioned, everything else goes out the window. Score, because you're just like, throw it right there. Because I worked on it all day, and I'm just looking for that ball right there. And if it's not there, I'm not swinging because I worked on that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you mentioned external factors. Like, I think making it external at times is good because it gets you out of here. You know, it gets you out of like back here. Like, I don't want to be out here. You know, all the success wins is all out front, and so is like what I'm trying to do.
So kind of taking a step back and seeing the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
because stuff goes numb, man. Like,
right.
Maybe we had like a big chicken sandwich and now my stomach hurts and for whatever. Who knows? But the point is like, I know what this dude on the mound has. Right. I know where he's probably gonna go. I'm not gonna predict it, but I'm gonna pick out my spot. And at the end of the day, I'm just gonna focus on that.
Yeah.
Forget about everything back here. Forget about my head. Nowadays there's no time to even step out and be like, oh, like what am I looking for here? Oh damn, I have a strike on me because the pitch clock is not what it's at. So it's like there's no time for that.
We
so it's
just
like,
lost a couple more seconds.
I know, and those 2 seconds are valuable. So like it's really important to just like be out here and out here, because everything back here just slows you down.
Yeah.
It just does. It slows you down.
Man, that's good, man. I love that perspective. I love that view. Great to kind of see the difference there. I want to kind of dive into what you're what you're thinking about in the cage. I love the slow-mo with the but I picked this out because I wanted to give a visual of what it's like being Harrison Bader in the cage.
Sure.
And what am I trying to work on most of the time? Or what are those off-season adjustments that you're looking at working on right now as we speak?
No doubt. So I think the biggest thing
You
as
can
a
grab
hitter,
the bat too. If you need
wanna
a
grab
bat,
a bat?
if you need to demonstrate anything, I'll grab it too, just in case I need to.
Man, these got your name on, but these are big bats. Bro.
Yeah, I mentioned
this
the
to you
34,
earlier.
34 and a half.
Yeah, this is I would have
But
to,
it's like an M110.
I'd have to be up here if I use this bat. I really would. You know, I think it's extremely important as a hitter, young hitter, current hitter. I'm speaking even about myself right now.
Yeah.
You have to know what you're really good at. So that's first and foremost.
strengths,
So never forget what you're really good at, right? So what I'm very good at is rotating, and what I'm very good at is like having a flat bat. I'm good at
Staying
tight. You know, like as a hitter, you have to know what you're really good at. And then when you approach the off season, in-season adjustments, whatever it is, it's never backing off of what you're good at. It's just making what you're really good at even better. So like for me, you know, like when I get in trouble, I get really spinny. So but I get spinny because I want to get jumpy, because I want to go get it.
Right.
Those can be viewed as negative things, but in my head, they're good things. So I don't ever want to get off the gas, because I'm always on the gas. I want to hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To get out of college, to get drafted, you got to hit a fastball.
Right.
To get to the big leagues, you got to hit a fastball.
Yeah.
So like, I don't ever want to like speed myself up. You know what I mean? Like I can always slow myself down. So just knowing that like all I have to do to work is just slow myself down at times, like that also makes it like a lot easier to kind of bite off what I'm trying to attack to just get better at. So, you know, when I'm in the cage, I think the biggest thing is first, you know, assuming that your body's always in, you know, swinging shape, you're ready to go. Just getting that ball super tight and then kind of working out. You know, whether it's a tee or flips, you know, just creating like staying super tight and working in a direction where like you're just like working out front.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the ball out front,
Right.
but you're working as if there's a wall in front of you, but you're working out front. And then once you kind of own that inner third, then you can kind of push the ball out.
Yeah.
And I think it's extremely important to remember, like, to focus on the ball right down the middle. You know, it's easy to,
because that's the one you got to hit.
yeah,
right?
and that's the one when they throw it, you have to do damage on it.
Yeah.
You know, when you have that ball right down the middle, you can't forget that swing, that A swing on that ball down the middle. It's very easy to attack different parts of the zone and focus on those things, and you know you end up losing. You know, what is your A swing when that guy misses?
Right.
You know, it's like in golf, and I don't play golf, but I've heard golfers talk about it all the time, where it's like, all right, like, don't hit the ball on the lake to the left. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Then
Bang.
they do it.
It's the same thing with pitchers.
Yeah.
They don't want to hit the middle, but pitchers miss down the middle.
Yeah.
They do. And it's our job as hitters to be ready for when they do.
Mistakes, yeah.
And swinging at pitches, not swinging at pitches can be just as valuable as the pitches you do swing at.
Yeah.
Making quality swings on pitches you can handle is extremely important, but also taking pitches to buy yourself. Maybe he misses.
Another pitch,
you know? So it's like, when I'm in the cage, I really do try to keep it very simple. I try to just feel like I almost want that bat to just feel like I'm not even like letting it like break at all. It's just kind of just going. It's like the barrel stays like above the hands, and I'm not trying to get like eaten up on like Instagram or Twitter about swing stuff, because I'm so beyond that. But the feel for me is when that ball is right down the middle.
Well, everybody has a different feel.
Yeah,
right?
when that ball is right down the middle, I want to be in a position where my hands feel like they're below the barrel, where they're like that. Whenever I get here is when this opens up,
that spinny feel,
and it's just not it for me. So keeping that ball super tight and just letting that bat like it shouldn't break. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't like
the bat is doing the work through the right spot.
Yeah, like the body's doing the work. Like whenever I think about my hands, I get in trouble. You know, because I'm like, as a hitter, I always want to be ground up.
Right.
So whatever happens down here is affecting what's happening with the shoulders and your hands.
Right.
100%. Because we work on these and our hips so much that they create so much force that like if they're off, it's gonna change everything up here. So when I'm thinking about my hands, bat's tight, I get like, ugh, like too,
And then you're probably not using the legs.
probably not at all. I want to go attack the ball with my lower half. I want to stay on my backside, and I don't want to ever feel this bat in my hands. I just want to feel just like a whoosh. And like that's the feeling I get, because the best swings I've taken in the major leagues have always been attack the ball with my lower half, and the hands just go pew, and it's like you timing it up.
You almost don't feel it, right? I want to hit you on something that I see is trendy, right? The Bruce Bolt, the batting gloves. Like the kids love those gloves nowadays, and it's something that maybe you kind of brought it into, like no, for real. Like I think the trend of the kids like wanting this, you played a huge part in that. Tell me a little bit about the gloves, because there was no Bruce Bolt when I had the Franklins.
Yeah.
The classic Franklin.
Nah, it's been an amazing ride thus far with an extremely fun and up and coming company. So off season of 2020, I got the first pair of Bruce Bolts sent to me through a mutual friend of mine, and they were all white, and I put them on because I had like that long cuff where I like strapped them in, and immediately, because I was a Nike athlete then, immediately I was like, yeah, I'm gonna use these gloves.
Really?
Hands down. But what I saw in the all white ones was like essentially like a canvas.
Is this the cuff? This is the cuff?
Are
these cuffs or no?
Those are the cuffed ones.
Okay.
But so I got an all white pair, and I was like, this is like a canvas. And my first question when I started talking about it, I was like, so what other colors do you guys have? And they're like, well, we're like working through it. We're, and by then I don't know the exact number, but they did not have a lot of colorways. They had like their like your like staples.
Standard, yeah.
Yeah, and they had some color for sure. But now fast
forward,
I need
some flavor.
Yeah, exactly. Fast forward 4 years since I've been with them, they have like 85 colorways now. And what really put them on the map was the baby blue with the red accents that we had in 2021, which was our first year. And I definitely was one of their first players in the major leagues to kind of showcase them. And I remember I would get to first base, and players would say all the time, like, you going gardening with those gloves? What you got those gloves? I was like, hey, watch out. I'm telling you, this company, watch out. Coming. I'm telling you right now, watch this company. These are good gloves. They hold up. They got good colors. They're bright. They feel good. They're like, okay. But no, I think it's been a great experience with them, because first of all, it shows you, collaborative expression, which I think is important in the game, because teams are alleviating, what you can wear, obviously within boundaries, but teams are allowing their players to showcase some flavor. Yeah, like you said. And how better can we showcase that than through colors and expression? And every year I've had a pair of like Bader specific gloves that have come out, and they've always had a theme, right? So. With Bruce Bolt in 2021, it was the powder blues, which we showcased that year. Earlier, they came out in 2018 or 2019 maybe, but that was like the theme, the powder blues. And then, I did like a pink and like a pink one that I wanted to like be inclusive for like girls, because I realized that Bruce Bolt didn't have anything like, I was like softball players. Like, I want softball players to wear my gloves.
Something to where they're looking at like, oh.
Yeah, I want softball players to wear these pink gloves, because pink is a great color for girls. Yep. And then with the younger generation too, like now, like even like younger players like want the pink because they're bright, right? So then I had, these are like my batting gloves. These are like the alternative with the Yankees, which kept it like a little tight, but we had like the Liberties with like the green palm, the green lightning bolt to kind of, showcase like, the Statue of Liberty, obviously. And then for the upcoming season, I don't want to spoil the surprise.
Can you give us something like us a little something?
With the Mets, we have a Queens specific colorway coming out that's going to highlight an aspect of like Flushing and Queens that I think is really special. It's also going to play into the Mets having the opportunity to wear some cool uniforms too. So listen, we'll we'll see. But I think it's just a great opportunity again for a young company to just showcase what they can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You mentioned Franklin. A lot of these companies have been around for a long time because they make really good product.
Right.
They make great product. They have had a lot of players wear their stuff over the years. But for a young company like Bruce Bolt to kind of elbow their way into a space that I think they're changing the way we view them as players. Yeah. Young kids are using them. They're making noise, and I'm here for the ride. I love working with them, and we're gonna keep pumping out great colorways until the wheels fall off.
I'm interested to see what they keep coming out with. That's cool though. It's cool to see you like kind of headed that, kind of got that going a little bit. I think that's cool.
No doubt.
All right, I had to get into the 2022 postseason, right? Where you just went ridiculous.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. So, for people that don't know, what is it like being on a heater like that? Like you just like don't feel like you're missing anything. Everything that you're touching is just launched. Like what did that feel like? Because it was obviously like, first of all, it's postseason. It's lit. Like everybody's jumping. You got Carpenters. It's juice for you. Awesome. But what did that feel like in totality?
In totality, it was like, this is what we live for as a baseball player.
Yeah.
Hands down. Like when you're in it, you realize you're in it, and it's just like, this is what this feels like. This is why we bust it for moments like this, whether it's going to be one at bat, whether it's going to be, an entire postseason, which I wish we played more games because we had such a good team, and I wish, we could have done more that year. But, whatever it is, when you're in it, especially as you've been like around the game and in the game for a while, you're like, yeah, this is what it's like.
Right.
I'm going to hold on to this feeling. And you just try to work back to that. But listen, I think the biggest thing with all these games was, I was healthy after like a tough season dealing with plantar fasciitis. So I got healthy. That staff got me healthy.
Those are those balls in the middle that you were talking about earlier.
That's what I'm saying right there, yeah. When they show up, you have to be ready to swing, man. Put a good swing on it. But the biggest thing is like when I remember all these games, the preparation is what stands out the most. The calmness and the work behind the scenes. Even if you have a bad round, it's just you're good because this preparation is what's going to produce results. Right. So like all these swings were just like good preparation before the game, man, and just balance and just like. Obviously, it's it's the ALCS, so it's like
Cy Young Verlander.
I can't. Yeah, I mean, that guy's impossible to square up, man. I got lucky there, but
oh, that ain't luck. When you hit him that far, that ain't luck right there.
But it's just really, really like there was a lot of noise. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like media. There's like all this stuff hype, and like I love that because like this is what we signed up for. Mm-hmm. So now it's my job to like take everything down, like to like ground floor in my own head.
Right.
Just live in it. Like it's okay to like be juice, but like bottle it. You know what I mean? Contain it, because if I try to go too fast, everything's gonna spin out of control. And again, when I watch all these swings, man, like my face might tell a different story than how I'm feeling, but yeah, I gave like a little love right there because I was just extremely gracious for the opportunity. But again,
who are you giving the love to? Just
like the moment.
Just the moment. Wow.
Just the moment. I just remember just like going around those bases, just like hearing, like everything was heightened. Like the noise was heightened. The visuals, the lights were so bright. Just everything was so heightened. But like, I remember I just had like a split second where I was just like so in, like this is like what we signed up for. This is why I work so hard. And I remember it. I can give myself chills thinking about it. But that's what it comes down to. And again, too, it's just like, I think players at times, young players especially, are scared to like pull it back. Because like when you're in competition, everything takes care of itself from like a speed standpoint. Like everything automatically goes fast.
Right.
So like you have to find that thing where it's like, I need to pull like my energy back and just contain it and then release it properly. As opposed to like, you're just like split open, you're like running around and now you're cooked by the 6th inning. You know what I mean? Like you have to just like hone everything in and like feel everything, smell everything, hear everything, and just like control everything. Because when that punch comes, like you got to go.
Right.
You might only get one a game.
Yeah.
So
Did you feel like you had to? Because in those types of moments, a lot of times the game speeds up too, right? And you talk about like not feel like you're going too fast, you using all this energy. Did you feel like you were doing a great job of being able to slow it down in some sense, or did you feel like do you remember, okay, there's something I need to do to slow it down, or was it just kind of those things where everything was just clicking? You talked about the prep, like, did you feel like, okay, once you stepped in the box, okay, I'm good?
Yeah. I think everything was certainly clicking for me offensively, but it's because of the process behind the scenes. So like my favorite athletes of all time are Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. And I think I channeled or tried to channel like this like when I watched like Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, like they were getting like punches thrown at them left and right nonstop, and there's all these flashes of like these million people watching them, and it's like it's so cool, especially like UFC events too, because it's like you have this tiny little ring, and then like when they zoom out, it's like it's like a bowl of people, you know what I mean? So everyone's just like this.
Yes.
But when I watched like Ali and Tyson, it's almost like they were just like standing here, and like they were getting punches flurried at them left and right. But like Muhammad Ali would always like bob and weave and just like, you know what I mean? And then it's like bang. And like Tyson was a little bit more aggressive, but he like, it's almost like he knew like what was happening. And he's like moving with it. He's just like, nope, miss, boom. And I think that's the same approach, especially in baseball and especially in postseason like this. You have to like be so confident in yourself to just like kind of like move through it and just like bob and weave and just do like stay in your energy. And then when the game presents itself, it's like boom. That's what it is. Yeah. But if I run into postseason, if I run into this like boxing match, and I've never boxed, so
right. Yeah.
But it's like, but if I run in, I'm like, what if this match goes 12 rounds?
Yeah.
What if this game, what if it's 0-0 all game, and then the closer comes in and like that's my one. It's like
right.
So like I got to be prepared for it. So I have to just I have to conserve my energy and conserve like just like if the moment requires me to like think and be so small, that's where I got to be.
Yeah.
Because
I like that.
Especially in these moments, and I've had experience in the postseason before this, but if I'm too out here, right, like everything's gonna spin out of control because I am so fast, I am so aggressive. You know what I mean? If I'm a boxer and I'm like in here and I try to go for that big moment, I want all the glory, boom, who knows?
Yeah.
So like thinking small, being small, like just being tight, knowing that when you release it, then it all goes. I think that's just what I latched onto, and I just ran with it for as long as we were playing these games.
And the way I kind of at least visualize what you're saying, because I think this is different ways, people think different ways, right? You're talking about kind of like dancing with the game. You're staying with the flow of the game, waiting for that one opportunity, and you're not going to miss it. And I think that to me is a special way to think about it, because we play 162, right? Like it's a long season, but once you get to the postseason, there's an opportunity to make a statement. And I feel like that's what you did in a short amount of time, but also now I can do this at any point. And I think that's a confidence builder within itself. I love that idea that, okay, if I can dance with the game in the toughest moments, I can go at any time. So I like that thought process a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about it before too. Like, imagine if you took every single at bat. You didn't know like where it was in the season. You didn't know what the situation was. You didn't know if it was Game 7 of the World Series or Game 30, whatever, in the regular season. And there's like a black curtain like around the entire thing, but all there is just you and the pitcher, and he's just pitching towards you, right? Like, how would you approach that?
Yeah.
And then you rip the curtains away, and it's like, oh, it's Game 7 of the World Series. You just hit a walk-off home run. Right. It's like, yeah, it's challenging, but like that's the point. It's like, forget the situation, forget all the noise, all the media, the fans, cheers, which could like tighten you up. Who knows?
Right.
It's like the situation requires me to compete with this guy on the mound. I did my work on him, so I know what kind of stuff he has, and I'm gonna take my A swing if it's there.
Right.
And then you peel the curtain away. Then now we have a different situation. But you can't let what's behind the curtain dictate how you feel in the moment.
Dang, that's good.
Can't.
It's got to be the same. You got to be the same.
And I've seen the best to do it is Paul Goldschmidt. Hands down. Like, hands down.
Just
There's been some
change.
great ones, but in my experience, Paul Goldschmidt is the best at that. And he has every swing. He has the like up and in, like whoops, like into Big Mac land.
Yeah.
He has the 12 pitch at bat single to right field. He's got dead center. He's got back. He's got everything because every pitch, good or bad result, whatever. But he is just
locked.
He's just the same. He's the same, bro. He's amazing at it. And like that's the type of energy that I want to like study and just like be around because like he's look how successful he's been.
Not a lot of people have that. I mean, it's not
hard.
It's not easy. This is something the defense is something that we touched on a little earlier, but I needed to visually allow people to see some of these plays that are just absolute. Like you were playing maybe a little shallow there against Arozarena, and you literally your body. You didn't even care about the body. If the ball went a little bit further, you would have smashed into that wall. But I think there's a presence about your defense that I enjoy watching that I think a lot of people can learn from. And you talked a lot about being offense and aggressive on defense. But there's also a knack for just making ridiculous plays. And I think that you have that too. And I had to bring that into the picture because
I was waiting for it.
Because that's something you obviously take pride in.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to play with reckless abandon, man. You know?
And now you saying that safety aspect, like, obviously we've heard it before, but like when you think about it and you see it, it is almost like you cutting down a wide receiver, you coming
that's
hard.
what it is. Oh, this is a good one too. Remember this one? That turf is no joke over there. No, I mean, listen, I think you got to play with some reckless abandon, man. Like
the first step is ridiculous too.
It's a good step. There were some good ones. I know it sounds stupid. Like you gotta know how to dive.
Mm-hmm.
Like a good example is like sliding into second base, for example, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know how to slide, what's gonna happen when you hit the dirt?
Hurt, yeah.
So like knowing how to slide and dive and like protect your body, because I do love to dive. I love to lay out. I love to like pick my pitcher up. I love that energy.
Yeah.
Make a good play. Let's carry it into offense. Like let's go. That's like I would never not do that. KK is one of my favorite in the game. He's still doing it. And he's like he's flying out there and he's still doing it. He's still laying out. But if you watch him, the way he dives, the way he moves, it's like graceful. Because like there's an element of like body awareness.
Yeah.
And I think you only attain that if you practice it.
Right. Yeah.
So, I love that aspect of my game, and I train to be able to do that. Like if I can't do that, I don't want to play anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You got to be able to do
that.
this. You always got.
It's like I train so I could be like I want to dive.
Yeah.
I want to like go make plays. I want to do it properly. Because I've always played that way, and that's what's allowed me to kind of like help my teammates out. And who knows, if you don't make that play, who knows what happens at it? I don't know.
Yes.
So
yeah. That's the most important thing to me is because if you don't make a play or you're not able to take away a hit, like you really don't know what happens, and it's easy for us to sometimes be like, all right, man, I didn't make that one, and then we see the course of the rest of the game and we're like, yo, that one play.
No, for sure.
That could have been it.
For sure. No, I mean, listen, like I said, I train hard so I could play hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't train hard, but you want to play hard, like, all right, you want to play hard, but you got to put the work in. You got to get those small muscles, like, engaged. So, like, when you do stuff that your body requires of you, they have to be strong.
Yeah.
And I think strength is a big part of my game.
The details within the strength, right? I think that's huge, man. Last thing I got for you is kind of your piece of advice or something that you would give along to somebody that's maybe trying to be in the shoes of Harrison Bader one day. They're looking at, I love the journey this man has taken. I want to be where he's at. I want to be doing the things he's doing. What are you telling that person?
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question. I'll say this. So when I was coming up in college, even just listening to different coaches throughout my entire career thus far, there's this theme among coaches, and especially at the University of Florida, which was extremely competitive, which was, when it comes down to performing in this game, if you can't do it, it's my job, or I'm going to go out there and find a player who can, right? So at UF, it's extremely competitive. The team we had going in, freshman year or fall ball was not the team we had at the end of the year. Guys would transfer out, they wouldn't make the team, whatever it is. And the coach and the coaches and the theme across all competitive sports is, if you can't do it, I'll find somebody who can, right? So as athletes, we look over our shoulder and we think to ourselves, there's this guy or this other player that's going to replace me, right? This and that. And the reason why I tell this story is because things changed in my career when I started to understand that when the coaches would say that to me, they weren't talking about other players behind the scenes. They weren't talking about other players at other schools or anywhere else to transfer in. Who they were talking about was the player inside myself that they were trying to unlock. Where you're going as an athlete today is not the athlete you're going to be down the road. But it's up to you and for you to look within to unlock that player.
Yeah.
So what they were trying to say to me was, I'm going to continue to push you until the player we know you're capable of being comes out, and that's the player I'm looking for. We already have the physical body, but we got to change some things, and we're going to keep grinding you into the ground, and we're going to keep making you do reps, and we're going to make you stronger and faster to eventually where that player is the player I'm going to find.
Yeah.
And the reason why I share that is because it's really, really important that every young athlete at any level understands that if you put the work in and you have the desire to be the best version of yourself athletically on the field, you can unlock those things. Yeah. But it really just does take some mental switches to kind of go off, and it's extremely easy to not do it.
Yeah.
It's extremely easy to not play in college or in pro ball or in major leagues. But, wanting to take the tough route, I think is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my advice, I think, is just to understand that the player to unlock is not over there. He's not anywhere else, but he really is within who you are every day when you show up, off season or not. So that'd be my advice.
Yeah, that's good, man. Because that motivation is almost like, that it's there for the taking. For you as a player, everything is there for the taking, and it's something that I always try to remember. And my father and my father-in-law both kind of harpened it into me, is like, all that unlockability, everything that you want to get to is already there. Just go get it. And I think that's kind of a great message, because a lot of times we do get lost in, comparing myself to somebody else, or they're looking to go get somebody else. Somebody's coming for my job. No, it's mine already. So
1,000%. I mean, if you're going to look anywhere else, if you're going to look anywhere as an athlete, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Don't look behind you. Don't look on Instagram.
Yeah.
Don't look anywhere else besides in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that be the only direction you look, and not let anything else creep in, because it's there.
Yeah.
And if you want it, you're going to have to take it, but it's right in front of you. And sometimes it's looking back at you. So being willing to dive into that and to be like, listen, I don't care what it takes, but I'm going to find a way. And the only way I do it is by, talking with this man in the mirror here. I think you'll find a lot of success in there.
That's good.
No success back there. Right there.
That's all I'm proud
right
of you.
there.
Hey, Harrison Bader, man, I appreciate you coming through.
Thank you, my guy.
It's been amazing, man. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.